Good morning,
Good
ladies
morning.
and gentlemen. Time is now 8:34 a.m. So it's a slight head start. We might need it. Hey, today is May the 2nd, 2023. My name is Melvin Coleman. I'm the president and CEO of the Atlanta Black Chambers. And this is our Tuesday Talks virtual roundtable. And it is always my pleasure to spend this time with you on a Tuesday morning. And I thank you for coming on in and joining us for this experience. So we always like to take a quick look back at the previous week, because as all of you know, the Atlanta Black Chambers, we're putting in work every day, every week, every month, creating and delivering content that our community needs. So a big shout out to the ABC certifications team. As some of you are aware, we have an initiative, okay, that we started this year, and I have some really solid people in leadership that are driving that initiative. And so the certifications team had a virtual session last week. Let's see, I believe it was Thursday, and folks showed up for it, over 100 people in attendance, to find out more about the certifications initiative and what we will be doing, how you can access this opportunity. So shout out to them. I'm very excited. That particular initiative is going to take the organization to the next level. So you'll be hearing a lot more about the ABC certifications team and that initiative throughout the course of this year, no doubt. Hey, shout out to the Financial Services Committee under the leadership and direction of Ms. Sheena Robinson. We did our 7th annual Money Smart Business Summit, and it is always especially good when we are at the New Black Wall Street Market in Stonecrest. So when you put the ABC at the New Black Wall Street Market, that speaks volumes to anyone paying attention that we support each other. We have relationships and the collaboration, and there is something real when we say Black community. Okay, so it was great for us to be there for that event on Friday. I could not attend, had something to do back in the hometown. Shout out to Savannah. Had to go home to the crib for a couple of days, but I got great feedback about the event. And thank you to all who attended that event, but then also the participants, the panelists, the facilitators of the breakout sessions, our keynote, our very own ABC member, Damon Crump. I heard he delivered a passionate keynote for everybody. So that was awesome. And that was the 7th annual. We look forward to next year, no doubt. Okay. So I'm sure some other things happened last week, but those two in particular, I definitely wanted to make sure that I took the time to spotlight and say thank you to everyone involved in those ABC experiences. Okay. So, hey, we're very excited this morning. You know, I finally got one of those brothers that I've been wanting for a long time to come on to Tuesday Talks. And it's always good when someone like our guest speaker this morning takes some time out to come speak to us, okay? Because I know for many of you, you know, all that you can learn from his experience. You know, this is important that we take the time to do these types of activities and give our platform to someone that we admire and respect, who's blazed a trail, okay? Blazed a trail for so many to follow. And so I want to say this morning, I want to say good morning to my brother, T. Dallas Smith. Welcome to Tuesday Talks, brother. It's good to see you.
Good to be seen. Can you hear me okay?
I can. Your audio is great, man. And you look, I don't know what you're eating, your lifestyle and everything, but feel free to share that secret with me when we are on a one-on-one, because you look amazing.
Well, I'll take that. I'll take that this morning. Thank you so much, man. It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah. So look, Tuesday Talks, we do this every Tuesday, and you know, it's something that we do to really share and promote and keep our community in the know on critical pieces of information. And so we're very timely. And so it's good to have you because now, is this your first book that you've written? Is this the first?
This is the very first one. I pray it won't be the last, but this is the first.
Okay. Well, listen, a lot of folks know who you are, but then, you know, we may get up to like 200 people here this morning. And so there'll be a lot of people who don't know who T. Dallas Smith is. So we always like to start with, hey, man, give them a little bit about, you know, who my man is this morning. And then we'll get into, you know, some other things, some nuggets that you want to share. And so we've got about a 10-minute segment.
Okay, I'll make it as quick as I can. Well, first of all, thanks everybody. My name is Dallas Smith, T. Dallas Smith. The T stands for Tenalo. That's why I go by Dallas, because my name has been butchered my entire life. But I'm in commercial real estate. I have a company called T. Dallas Smith and Company that I started in 2007. What we do, we're a tenant representation service firm. So we represent companies for their real estate. So in 2020, the largest transaction that was done in the United States was Microsoft. When Microsoft moved to Atlanta on 17th Street, they took 523,000 square feet. That was the largest transaction in the United States. We represented them. It was me along with 4 of my partners. And just very grateful. I've been doing this, I've been in this business for 41 years, but this firm started in 2007. We're having a good time. Leonte Benton is the new president of the company. I'm founder and CEO. We represent companies all across the United States. We're based in Atlanta. I tell people all the time, I'm Atlanta born, Atlanta bred. When I die, I'll be Atlanta dead. So I'm going to be based here in the ATL. But we're doing work right now in probably 36 states. And I think the future is extremely bright for the firm, but also bright to really try to get more people who look like us into the commercial real estate space. That's where I was born. That's my purpose in life. I'm real clear on that. And my book, In the Black, talks about the journey, where I started from, how we got to where we are now, and kind of what's coming in the future. So that's the quick version of a 41-year career.
Awesome. So look, we know that we're still very much underrepresented in the commercial, say, arena of real estate. And so that's why you're such a significant player for us. You talk a little bit about, is that changing, or what do you need to do, or what needs to happen?
Yeah, so I think a couple of things. So when I got into business in 1982, as far as I could tell from all the information I've gathered over the years and the people I know, we were probably at 1% of the industry in 1982 when I got into the business. We're in 2023, and I say we're comfortably at about 3%. So in 41 years, we've moved 2 points. It's the reality of it is it's a very closed business. This business has created more millionaires than baseball, football, and basketball combined, but it tends to be more family oriented. So what I mean by that, you've heard of firms like Cousins, the Cousins Properties, or Seelig, Hines. These are all families. So it tends to be, the father brought in the son, and the two sons, the daughter, and then their kids came in too. That's been this industry in a major way. So a couple of things, and then we don't know about the industry. So when I talk to people about, tell them I do real estate, the first thing that comes to mind for most people who look like us, they'll go, I'm thinking about buying a house. I'm thinking, and I think, well, that's not what I do at all. So, some of the companies that we represent, I'm talking about Microsoft, but we do work for FedEx. Just give a perfect example. And we do a ton of work for FedEx. So when you go to a warehouse and deliver that package to be sent somewhere, odds are they're in some facility. If it's not some retail, they're in some warehouse, work centers. They have those all across the United States, across the globe. And they'll oftentimes stay in that same facility. It's not about just moving them or finding them new space. Oftentimes we're brought in just to do a renewal on the existing space. So What that means is they've got a 10-year lease. The lease is rolling up it's the 9th year. We get called in to come in and help renegotiate a new lease. They may need new, the parking lot needs to be repaired. Something wrong with the building, all these types of things. We negotiate a new deal. We get paid a fee for that. And oftentimes it's about the same amount as if we were to bring in a brand new space or anything. It's just, New Jersey pays about a 6% fee on the aggregate value of that deal. So it's extremely lucrative, but it's a business that we just don't know about. And so what I'm wanting to do, particularly within the Black and with platforms like this, is just to expose our people to this thing called commercial real estate. And the hope is if people who have interest, they'll reach out. If not to me, they'll reach out to some firm that, I don't really care if you come. I'd love for you to be with us if it's a good fit, but if it's not a good fit and you need to be somewhere else, I just need you in the business. That's the only way it's really going to change. And that's how we got to push the envelope. We can't wait for it to come on the other side. We've got to inquire about this thing called commercial real estate. And commercial real estate is a big thing. The sliver that we are on is just called specifically tenant representation. So, and I, the power broke. I don't know if you read Damon John's book, The Power of Broke. Because I was broke, went through the Great Recession, had lost everything, had to start all over again. I couldn't afford to be a full service firm. So to be a full service firm, I need to be able to put signs up. A sign, at that time costs about $500 per sign for commercial. So if I got 10 listings, that's $5,000. And hell, I didn't have $5,000 to do that. And so oftentimes I think we underestimate or overestimate the power of money and not value enough ideas. One of my favorite sayings is Eleanor Roosevelt said this: small minds discuss people, average minds discuss events, but great minds discuss ideas. And I think when you have platforms like this, I think the idea of getting together and talking about ideas, because money in itself was just an idea. I mean, think about it. Somebody convinced us. We went from a bartering system. If I had pigs and you had corn, we trade. We went from that to gold. That became the shiny object. And we went from that to paper. We went from that to now plastic. Now we just got it on our phones. So the idea trumps everything. So instead of spending time on what you don't have, really sit down and realize and figure out what is the idea? What is it that you're really trying to do? What were you birthed to do? I tell people all the time, I always go straight to the source. I don't have to go to anybody else. I'm real clear on what God's called me to do. And I'm just doing that thing. Once you're real clear on what he's calling you to do, he makes the way for you in a way that no one could ever do, that no resume could get you past. I mean, we don't have enough time because you've given me 10 minutes and we're probably 5 minutes into that already. So, but just believe me when I say God is still speaking. God is still directing. We just have to have the ability to hear and do. And will it be easy? No, it won't be easy. I mean, if it wasn't easy for Jesus, it ain't gonna be easy for you. You know what I'm saying? He died on the cross. Noah. I mean, you think about everybody who was called to do something. It's never easy, but the reward is doing and being in the task. For me, if you would have told me that 16 years later, starting with no clients, no money, that we would be the largest African-American tenant rep firm in the country, it made absolutely zero sense.
Right.
But as my mom would say, but God.
Awesome, brother. Look, before I let you get away from the ABC this morning, because you are Dallas Smith and you are an Atlanta native and you have experience and knowledge that many of us don't have. What is your take on Atlanta as it relates to us, to Black people? Atlanta
is the Mecca. I mean, let's be clear. Microsoft, Google, Facebook, all these firms are here because of us. That's the reality. And we represent a lot of tech companies. We brought Nike to Atlanta. We brought Airbnb to Atlanta. This conversation was always the same. They want to diversify their platform. They look all over the place, all over the world. And then you come to Atlanta and go, there's not a place like Atlanta. We've had a Black mayor since Maynard. I mean, leadership, city council. I mean, you come here, it's nothing to think about prosperity. I worked for Herman Russell. I have to pivot just a second. So Herman was if you don't know who Herman Russell is.
We talk about that a little bit.
Yeah.
I've heard you talk about it before. Go ahead.
Yeah, get the book. It's called Building Atlanta. It tells a story about Herman Russell. But Herman Russell was from Atlanta as well, grew up in Summer Hill, had a speech impediment, grew up in Jim Crow, Georgia, grew the largest commercial construction company in the country from nothing, from a shoe shine stand. I had the opportunity to work for Herman. I started the brokerage division for Herman. I mean, a lot of greats have come out of there. Egbert Perry worked for Herman, Noah Khalil. I mean, it's on and on. But what we saw was a man who had a speech impediment, who was a Black man, who had relationships all across the board, Black, white, you name it. He was the one when Dr. King was getting locked up. He was the one bailing Dr. King out, because back then, in order to get people out of jail, you had to own property. And Herman owned more property than anybody else. In fact, he became the first Black member of the Atlanta Metro Chamber by mistake. And by mistake was they were following all these bank deposits that he had. They just assumed that he was white. And so they sent him an application to join the Atlanta Metro Chamber. As soon as Herman got it, because it was segregated, Herman filled it out, had somebody take it down with the check. And by the time they cashed it, he was a member. And when they found out he was Black, they wanted to rescind it, but they said that would be an embarrassment on the city. So he went through and became the first Black member, and also became the first Black president of the Atlanta Metro Chamber. So I'm seeing that as this example. If you're sitting there on the front row, seeing a guy's journey do this, we have zero excuses, zero excuses of reaching our goals that we want to reach, whatever it is. And so Herman was that guy. There's also a documentary called Building Atlanta. PBS did it. I was fortunate enough to be in the PBS story and to be in the book. Herman was an icon, and how I met Herman was a cold call. I was the first Black broker at Cushman & Wakefield. Cushman & Wakefield was owned by the Rockefellers at the time. The MO was, if you didn't come from money, you didn't work at Cushman. And I didn't come from money. We grew up off of Simpson Road in Atlanta, Georgia. My dad drove a taxi and worked at Lockheed. My mama kept kids at the house. So when I got in at Cushman & Wakefield, my very first cold call was to Herman Russell. And I called Herman thinking it was going to take me years to get a hold of this man, because, Herman was worth $500 million at the time, just real estate alone. To my surprise, the man called me back in 15 minutes. And I tell that example because no matter how important you think you are, return people's calls. You never know how it may change your life. And that was a lesson I learned from Herman. I could go on and on about Herman Russell, but I would tell you, pick up that book. If that doesn't inspire you, I don't know what to tell you, but just to understand, the man had a speech impediment. You could barely understand. I speak fluent Herman Russell now because I was around him enough, so I understand what he was saying. But the Rice Center was put together really to honor Herman. It was something that came out of a conversation I had with Jerome Russell and Dexter Wardy, my business partner, that we needed to do something to honor them, because once he passed, they needed less space. T. Dallas Smith and Company represented H.J. Russell and Company and moved him to Atlantic Station, and they took space there. But we knew that we had to do something for 504 Fair Street to honor the legacy that is the man Herman Russell.
Well, hey, brother, as we wrap, tell us what we can expect as we turn the pages of your first book.
So it's a story about perseverance, not giving up, the love of a mother, faith in God, reconciliation, a love story between me and the guy who brought me into the business, Tommy Tift. You have to understand that Tommy Tift's father was the Grand Dragon of the Ku Klux Klan in Tifton. I'll just tell you that. But this is the guy who brought me in the real estate business. You have to read the book to figure out how that happened. Because again, you don't have enough time here right now. But you can also get it on Audible. If you're one of those people that don't like to sit down and read, I'm one of those people. I listen to books, but Audible is on Audible. It's called In the Black. Search T. Dallas Smith. And if you happen to have a physical copy and I see you, I'll be more than glad to sign a copy for you.
Fantastic. So we've put the information in the chat. Danielle sent it to me last night. So folks should have access to purchase the book. So just wanted you to be aware of that.
Yeah. And you can get it anywhere you buy books right now. Amazon, Barnes and Noble. I just want to say thank you. I appreciate the Atlanta Black Chamber and the 217 people who are on this call right now. So that's awesome. I really appreciate it.
And many of whom this is their introduction to, I always have to say T. Dallas because that's the name of the first. So T. Dallas Smith, everybody. He might not say it, real cool, humble guy, but he is one of those major players. When I talk about the ATL, you all must understand that, this is who we are. Yeah. And we really appreciate you, brother. And, at some point we'll have you back. I'll see you out in the community as I have over these past few years. Thank you so much.
All right, it's been my pleasure, man. I wish y'all all the best that life has to bring you.
Thank you.
All right, take care now.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen. So that was like a special edition for us. That was someone that you need to know, like, okay, certain people you need to know who they are. Okay, if you're going to, especially if you live in Atlanta, I know many of you come here from other places and you've been here for a while, but there are those folks who you need to understand who they are, what they've done, what they represent, and what it means to the Black community, but then Atlanta in general. So we really appreciate T. Dallas Smith this morning. Okay, so we've got some other business to see about this morning. So I'm glad all of you are here. And at this time, I'm going to ask my main man, our immediate past president, the presiding president of Advancing Black Businesses, and also the board chair for the Atlanta Black Chambers, Mr. Marquis Tate. You've got some announcements, and we want to get into it a little bit, Marquis, because some things have happened recently that we want everyone to know, but we want them to understand, beyond just knowing about it. Let's help them understand what went down. Was it last week?
Last week, yes. Thanks, Melvin. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
All right, great. Thanks for having me on this morning and coming after the great business icon, Mr. T. Dallas Smith. Thanks for those words of wisdom and telling us a little bit about history of this great city in Atlanta. Last week, we were in Augusta, we meaning the ABB, Advancing Black Business, Atlanta Black Chambers, with the Georgia Coalition of Black Chambers, which was led by Ronnie West. We were in her city, the Greater Augusta Black Chamber, with the governor. The governor signed House Bill 128. House Bill 128 is a bill that creates a minority certification process, official process for the state. They've done away with the federal process, which the state has been under for some time, particularly in the DOT. So we were there to support that bill because we know it's an avenue for our businesses, Black businesses, to get more contracts. Currently, you probably heard the numbers were less than 2%. What we found out due to the DOT disparity study in 2016, that we are less than 1% of the contracts actually coming out of DOT. And statewide, what we found is we don't know. They don't know. Department of Administrative Services don't know what the levels are statewide. So this is to help them come up with that. We had a bill in conjunction, because last time I was talking on Tuesday Talk several weeks ago, I talked about we had a study committee on the minority business numbers, particularly Black business numbers in state contracting. That was Senate Bill 6268. That actually passed, as I talked about a few weeks ago. It did not get assigned by the lieutenant governor. mainly due to the House Bill 128 actually passing and being and signed now. So we will be pushing, holding accountable the administration and the DOAS, Department of Administrative Services, on getting more contracts for Black businesses within the state. So again, I'll put that in the chat after I finish talking. House Bill 128, which is a revenue taxation representation of minority business enterprises. There's going to be a new certification program for you at the state level. Also, I'll put in the chat our Senate bill, Senate resolution on the study committee also, so you can learn a little bit about that. We are still pushing for that study committee. By the way, we had a backup plan. We put that as a House resolution, put that in as a House resolution also. So we are speaking with them as we speak about doing that study committee, even though the House Bill 128 passed. Also, a few other announcements, Melvin. We have.
So before you move away from HB 120, well, now it's legislation now. So what do we call it now? It's
law.
But did you talk about the different groups that are being the focus of the bill, like, you know, women, veteran? I mean, did you mention that? I didn't.
I did mention that, Melvin, but thanks for bringing that up. What the bill also mentioned about it doing away with the federal program under DOT and the program, the Minority Business Enterprise Program the state has been under. It actually creates, again, the new program, and it adds women-owned businesses and veteran-owned businesses to the Minority Business Enterprise certification. So it's a program that we will be sharing, I'll say, contracting opportunities with all the spectrums of minority businesses. So, but we know who we're pushing for. We're pushing for you as Black business owners to get more contracts. But that was a big piece of the House Bill 128, is adding women-owned businesses and veteran-owned businesses to the minority certification process.
Now, is there a rule component, or that was not a part of it? The whole, you know, the rule aspect, no?
Yes, there is a rule component, which is basically, Melvin, just adds the minority businesses into the certification process, and the DOAS is creating an official statewide program for minority certification. Is really what the rule centers around, with the addition of the women-owned businesses and veteran-owned businesses added to the certification process.
Right. So did you catch what I was saying? Rural, as in
rural Georgia.
Rural, yeah. Are they included as a group?
No, they're not included as a group. There was a bill last year. Don't remember that bill for a minority supplier certification program last actually session, that actually was going to make rural businesses part of the minority certification process. And that was not a part of House Bill 128, making rural businesses.
Got it. Okay. Just wanted to be clear on some of that stuff. All right. So you got a couple other things to drop on them this morning.
Yes, a couple other things. One is June 5th. You've seen it in the newsletter. We have a Par in Politics. I'll put that in the chat. In Henry County, Eagles Landing Golf Club, we will be having our annual fundraiser to actually raise funds to further the cause of public policy, educating you on participating in this public policy process, from electing the right officials that represent you as Black business owners, to coming up with the right legislation and pushing the appropriate legislation to push for more contracting for our businesses. But Par in Politics, that's June 5th. If you are a golfer, if you want to play golf, if you want to come out and putt on the putting green, come on out on June 5th. That's on a Monday. That's our annual annual ABB ABC fundraiser golf tournament in Henry County. Looking forward to seeing everybody there. Melvin, I know I only got a few more moments, but also in the newsletter, we have our DC fly-in. The ABC and ABB is taking you to DC during the Congressional Black Caucus Foundation Conference, September the 20th through the 24th. We will be there the 21st through the 24th of the conference. This is a chance to go to DC while we are all in the city, actually talking about issues in our community and how public policy can solve those issues. This is a time to network, a time to actually party. This is a big time in the city of DC to come up to the city. So go to the Eventbrite, and I'm going to put that in the chat, even though that is in the newsletter. I'm gonna put that in the chat after I finish speaking, but that's the DC Fly-In, the ABC, ABB, DC Fly-In. There's several packages and options that you can choose to go with us to DC. It's a big time to go in DC. If you haven't been to the annual Congressional Black Caucus Conference, please go with us. Melvin, looking over my list, there's a couple of other things. We will be in DC on May the 15th through the 17th, actually in a couple of weeks, with the Georgia Coalition of Black Chambers, meeting with your state senators, your U.S. senators, Ossoff and Warnock. Also, we'll meet with some of the congressional delegation, some of the departments such as SBA and the Department of Agriculture, looking for more contracting opportunities and looking for funding for our organizations also. So Melvin, I think that is all that's on my list. So again, the June 5th, the Part in Politics, please come out and join us June 5th.
Okay, so Marquis, a couple of things. So every time, you know, you come on Tuesday Talks and what you share with them, it is around governmental affairs, legislation, you know, policy, and that's a big part of our mission. So when you come to Tuesday Talks, it's good because the Tuesday Talks community, if you will, needs to understand the work that we're doing, say, beyond, I'm the Superfly events guy, right? I'm going to give you what you need in terms of bringing you together, and we all could come together and do what we do, and it's good, and we need that. But don't ever get it twisted that like that's all we're about. So when you see Marquis Tate, you know that we're moving in a way that is commanding respect, and our power and influence is growing in the spaces where we must have representation. So he just told you that in a couple of weeks, he and some other folks are going to talk to Senator Warnock and Senator Ossoff about what hold on. Okay. About what we need. Okay, so I just want to take time out to make sure people understand the seriousness of our mission. All right. And Marquis, take 30 seconds and tell them what is Advancing Black Businesses.
Advancing Black Business is a public policy arm of the Chamber. It's a 501c4, and it's a social welfare cause to educate you as small business owners about the political process and how to engage in the political process. We're coming up on the election process starting soon. You see where several candidates at the national level have already decided that they're running for particular offices. So we're going to be educating you on those candidates, and also coming with agendas that you can actually push, agendas that you can actually ask questions once you get in front of those politicians to let them know that to make sure that they actually support you and your issues as Black business owners. That's what ABB is basically all about, is educating you as Black business owners on this political process and public policy.
My man, great job this morning, brother. And let's keep doing what we do. You know, as long as we stay down together, they can't stop us. Too strong. Okay.
Thanks, all right.
All right. So next up, got to get my sister in here because she got this knowledge and she got to share it. So we're going to promote the event that she is hosting tomorrow. So a longtime ABC member, my sister, Miss Venus R. Lockett. Venus, please, let's share with everyone about the virtual session that's happening tomorrow at 11 a.m.
Sure. Thank you, Melvin, and good morning, Atlanta Black Chamber. Some of you know me. I wear several hats in the financial services space. I serve as the Bank on Atlanta program manager for the city of Atlanta, and I'm housed in the mayor's office of innovation and performance. I'm the state chair for Money Smart Week and Money Smart Georgia, and a Prosperity Now community champion. And now I'm really excited and honored to serve on Georgia's Digital Connectivity Advisory Council, which is why we're hosting this event tomorrow. So just very quickly, while I'm sharing information, if you could put in the chat, if you're familiar with the Digital Equity Act and how it relates to Georgia. But again, thank you, Melvin, for allowing me to share a brief summary of tomorrow's event and for co-hosting the presentation and about the Digital Equity Act and the info session. We will host Onisha Freeman, the Digital Connectivity Manager for the Georgia Technology Authority. You will be able to learn about the Digital Equity Act, the funding buckets, and where we are in the planning process for Georgia. We just came out of a national summit that I was honored to co-host. We had the OCC, the Department of Treasury, Department of Labor, Department of Education, and several planning teams from around the US come together in Atlanta to talk about their plans. We are so much further along, but we need your voices and your engagement and input. And for you to understand how this really touches everyone in Georgia. And I'm just going to share briefly the covered populations and the focus areas. And then I will, implore you to show up tomorrow, engage, and ask your questions. So the covered populations for this Digital Equity Act are low-income households, aging populations, incarcerated individuals, veterans, people with disabilities, people with language barriers, racial and ethnic minorities, and rural inhabitants. And the focus areas of service are broadband access, accessible and inclusive content, devices and tech support, privacy and security, and digital literacy and skills. And so if you have any touch points with any of those populations or in those areas, there's going to be funding next year. It's going to be competitive funding, but the chamber is in such a great position to empower its members in these areas. And they will be looking for collaborations to serve our communities effectively and efficiently. So, hope to see you tomorrow, but just know that tomorrow will not be enough time for you to get the information, about the Digital Equity Act, what it means for you, and the planning process in Georgia. I also want to share just a link where I'm collecting information to keep, everyone informed. And if you have a few minutes, just go ahead and, drop your information in there. When I tell you we are at the very beginning of this planning process, please believe that, because, different websites are being set up and different events and summits to bring everybody together to get this information so that Georgia can submit their plan to get the funding for next year. So thank you again for allowing me to share a brief summary. Please join us tomorrow to get more information and stay engaged to get even more as we move through this planning process.
Hey, thank you so much, Venus. Yeah, I'm excited about tomorrow. You bring this to the table is an example of, the chamber providing an opportunity for our community to be educated on something that is so important. And I like what you did when you asked folks to, hey, let me know if you know about it in the chat. And because some folks are saying, no, I don't know.
Right.
And so again, that's like, hey, that's why you're here. And that's why the chamber exists, to make sure that we take care of this business. So tomorrow, 11 a.m. Should be a very informative session. Can't wait to see the sister that's going to be presenting. So thank you so much, Venus. Looking forward to it tomorrow.
Thank you.
Okay, so tonight, the South Metro Networking Mixer is this evening, for those who may not know. I won't make it tonight, but my people will be there at Pseudo. And I do need to give a big shout out on yesterday, which is kind of unusual. We had a session on yesterday. We had an event, but ABC member Michael Berg did a great, informative, empowering session for restaurant owners. Okay, talked about the Restaurant Revitalization Fund, talked about the Employee Retention Credit, things that, again, if you did not know about those opportunities, to be informed is to be empowered. Knowledge is power. And that's one of the things that we will consistently do as an organization. You cannot be a part of or somehow attend chamber events and activities and remain uninformed or ignorant. You just can't, because there's too much information and knowledge that's being showered on you consistently. And so now you're making decisions about things that you are actually informed about. So that is the difference. That is the difference, folks. As a reminder, because sometimes folks will ask about Tuesday Talks and the recording and all that. So yeah, we make that available in our member Facebook group. So members can go to the member Facebook group and watch the recording as many times as they would like, right? Okay. Well, it was great having T Dallas this morning. That was a special edition. Can't always bring the heavyweights in, but when we have that opportunity, I'm glad those of you who showed up for that one. Okay, that's not one that you wanted to miss. Ladies and gentlemen, as always, same time, same place next week. In fact, I got a special guest next week, federal level. So yeah, you'll probably see that. We'll promote that next week. But yeah, next Tuesday Talks, got another special guest. All right. So ladies and gentlemen, as always, same time, same place next week. And let me see, which one of these tracks am I going to bring back?
Wait a minute, Melvin. I forgot to give a shout out to Rose Lee for being the resident photographer at our 2-day summit. Thank you, Rose. Did a phenomenal job. Thank you.
Good lady.
Okay. All right. Well, hey,
Have a great week, everybody.
Y'all go ahead and do.
It's
what
at
y'all
the
gotta
end,
do.
so you can give a
Go
shout
ahead.
out.
Go ahead.
Have an
Go ahead.
awesome day, everyone.
See all you guys.
Have a great week, everybody.
I'm glad that y'all.
Everybody.
Enjoy your week.
Enjoy your week. Bye.
Great seeing
Great week,
everybody.
everybody.
Glad that you.
Good
enjoyed
hearing
this
and seeing
one.
everybody.
All right, so hey, this is a track from 1988. Now,
Make sure you go and dominate.
Dr. D, will you stay on?
I'll
mute,
be
please?
sure, Melvin. Doing it on the ones and the
Bob
twos.
Nesbitt, man, next week, we'll get a shout out for East Metro Business Network next week, Bob, no doubt.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate you. You know you're the best, Melvin.
I'm gonna take y'all back to 1988.
I'll be sure.
You might have a little DJ skill in there.
Oh yeah, man, you know. It's no longer a secret.
Send. I spell send.
Have a good